Hello guys, welcome to Open Techno. Today I found the television with the 3 Bs. Good, nice, and it has an unbeatable value for money. In fact, its price is 219 euros, but until the beginning of September, you can find it for 149.99 euros. And it's none other than the German brand METZ with many years of experience in the television market. It's this television I have right behind me, a 32-inch television whose name or model you can find as 32MQF7000Z. A television that, as I've already told you, has pretty much everything considering the last point, which is that it's a very cheap television. However, I think it's really worth it. For all of you who have a limited budget or simply want a very basic television for a second home or just to set it up. Outdoors or in any situation. Hey, that doesn't need an 8K television with the newest technology. However, I have to say that this television already comes with quantum dot light emitting diode technology, which is going to make it look really good. Let's discuss its design and how everything comes together. We have a 32-inch design with bezels that are definitely noticeable, about a centimeter of black bezel on each side. Then we have two legs that come to be mounted with two screws. It's simple, a traditional remote with everything needed for a modern smart television. And of course on the back we have Video Electronics Standards Association support and a bunch of connections. Let's see if I don't miss any. Not a single one? Of course. We have the power connection and the audio-video connection for the classic 3 cables, yellow, red, and white. For video, in case you have an old video cassette recorder, then, first of all, we have an optical connection in case we want to connect the soundbar to our television and do it through that connector. We have two HDMI ports, an RJ45, a satellite connection, an antenna connection, and a wired headphone connection. In short, we have everything. Its weight is very low. It barely exceeds 3 kilograms. So, well, it's a television with a really low weight, which makes it extremely easy to mount on a wall without needing large anchors or, well, a bracket that needs to support a lot of weight. It's a very light television, and of course here I've highlighted how easy it is to mount. Now, regarding screen quality, the resolution of this television is going to be high definition, so it's going to look good. Specifically, we'll have 1366 x 768 pixels. It's a television that's, of course, inexpensive, and this resolution matches the television. Now, how does this resolution look? Now, I'll discuss other aspects, but I think this is enough resolution for a budget 32-inch television, especially because I'm nearsighted. And for example, as soon as I move 1.5 meters away from the television, it doesn't matter to me whether it's 4K or 720p, because I start not seeing all those details. Of course, if you're thinking of using this television as a computer monitor, then maybe you will notice those slightly bigger pixels or that lower pixel density up close. Then, a very positive thing about this television is that it has audio return channel to transmit the sound from the television to an external device, like, for example, some speakers. And I should also point out that, for example, if you connect it to a computer like I'm doing, you should know that there won't be any kind of delay between the computer image, so we can use it just like a regular computer monitor. On the other hand, this screen is LED with backlighting, it has really good colors, and the brightness is quite good. Also indoors, as I've been testing it, I have it right now. All the images you've seen are in standard mode, which has all the settings at 50%. And hey, I think it looks really good. You also have several presets like cinema, movie, interview, depression, sports, and game modes, to give more vibrancy to the colors and a faster response time. Anyway, it has a lot of modes that can be configured, both for the image and the sound, and I was satisfied just by activating the surround mode. The panel, in terms of colors, looks good. Honestly, it surprised me. I would say that, in terms of color, it's a mid-range television. Have we tried any on the channel? For example, I could say there's one that's slightly worse than this and may even cost more. Also, one thing that surprised me is that it has high dynamic range, 10 to improve the dynamic range of the image. And for example, I tried this with a YouTube video. The usual one with animals and landscapes, where you can see a strong dynamic range between shadows and highlights. It's a very basic high dynamic range. There are much better ones out there, but we already have a really good dynamic range there. We have, as I mentioned, 10-watt stereo speakers that sound good and have a good volume. At 20, we would already be listening to the television at the normal level, and it still has a lot of volume left to go. As I mentioned, that's it. There's an optical output for a soundbar if you want better sound. Now let's talk a little more about its interior. Inside, we have Google Television. Basically, this allows us to install a lot of applications. Mainly, these will be Netflix, YouTube, Prime Video, Homebox Office programs like A3 Media or Radio Televisión Española to watch content here in Spain from public television on demand. In short, a lot of applications almost like it was an Android phone. Of course, I told you it's a television. So let's not forget that we can connect an antenna cable, tune the channels, and watch traditional television. I don't have an antenna cable in my room, so I haven't tested this feature. But anyway, you see the menu that directly tells you to search for channels and you would have them available. Now, as for the hardware, how does it work? Well, it's not exactly the processor we have, but it's hardware that's just enough. What do I mean when I say just enough? Well, it's hardware that works well. As long as... Let's get ready to watch a movie on Netflix. We turn on the television, open Netflix, and wait about a minute for the movie selection screen to appear. Once we pick a movie and hit play, we forget the remote and don't touch anything. And the television can handle the video perfectly in any resolution. Now, don't expect a super fast television where you're on YouTube, hit the main menu, switch to Netflix, and all the available movies instantly appear. It's not a television that, well, has a powerful processor. I understand it's more or less basic, it works well, it holds its own, it does everything fine, without lags or stuttering. But hey, you can't expect it to perform like a gaming computer either, right? That would surprise me. Of course it has Bluetooth, it has Wi-Fi, and of course, as I told you, it has digital terrestrial television. And hey, what is Wi-Fi going to be useful for? Well, to watch movies through our favorite platforms. And what can Bluetooth be useful for? For example, to connect headphones wirelessly. Also, this panel has a system to protect your eyes with an anti-flicker system. That's the flickering we sometimes see in video recordings when we record with our phone. The panel also features Dolby audio sound. The panel and the content we're going to watch will be at 60 Hz as I mentioned, which is enough for the hardware it has. It's a video frequency that it handles smoothly. Lastly, I'll briefly discuss the remote. As I said earlier, it's fully featured and complete. We even have shortcuts to Netflix, Prime Video, and YouTube. However, it's a remote that doesn't work via Bluetooth. It's a remote that we have to point at the bottom of the screen if we want it to detect our commands. So, this isn't a remote for just getting into bed, covering up, and channel surfing, right? We need to point it at the screen or it won't detect our button presses. By the way, we can find this television in 32 and 43 inches. One of the advantages of the quantum dot light emitting diode panel on this television is that it has what's called quantum dot or quantum dot structure, which basically guarantees that the image quality will remain unchanged for more than 10 years. So, you won't see any degradation in the image with the use of the television. Among other things, this technology is also more environmentally friendly. The television panel's LEDs are coated with sapphire, improving heat dissipation. The lenses of these little LED bulbs are large and bright, which allows for greater color coverage and ultimately better image quality. And of course, you should know that the panel of this television covers 100% of the BT 709 color gamut, which is the video standard nowadays. Which TVs does it compete with? Mainly with typical Xiaomi and TCL models, which are also low priced. What can we appreciate about this one? Well, above all, the high dynamic range, the good colors that I told you you're going to find, and of course the balance between image and sound, which has been one of the things I like the most. Of course, as I said, the resolution could be a little better. Well, yeah, a full high definition would have been really nice. But I think for a €140 television that can be useful for us, well, maybe not as the main one we have in the living room. As I told you before, you can have a 55-inch 4K, I can see that. A perfect television to put in a bedroom, watch it calmly while you fall asleep, or simply, for example, take it to a second home, to a village where it can be useful for us. Well, hey, as a television as a monitor for the computer, and in the end give it multiple uses. And that being said, what exactly is the price? Well, €149.99. Are they the ones to blame for you having this METZ in your house? I said METZ, but for those of you who want to find it, it's METZ, the model 32MQF7000Z. As always, down in the description, we'll leave you the purchase link to the cheapest place we can find it for you. And of course, you'll have more information about this television. Of course, if you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. See you next time. Goodbye.